here's what we went over. We met a wonderful duck named Buttercup, and we saw we just saw a few examples of how 3D printing was used, including making a prosthesis. We saw that on humans as well. And what made these really great is that you could make the prosthetics for cheaper, but also way more personalized, to look more like your real leg or to have a certain design inside them. We saw it in the fashion industry, be it jewelry or be it shoes. But the good thing about 3D printing right now is that it's easily customizable. It's not very easy to print out tons and tons of them. You can't print in every material that you could make something with, for example. But you could make things that are very intricate. You can make things that are very small, note the quarters for scale, but have a lot of detail in them. That's what makes 3D printing good. And we went over what the process of 3D printing actually was. Some people start with a physical object, and then they either scan it to create a 3D model, or they use CAD software, which is called computer-aided design. We're going to be doing that today with Tinkercad, CAD, computer-aided design. And they create a 3D model, and then a special software slices it into layers. You can imagine the 3D printer is going to take these layers and print them one at a time. I have a question for the three of you girls, so listen up. If the software takes and slices the mug into these separate layers, does the 3D printer print from the top of the mug to the bottom, or from the bottom of the mug to the top? Which layers does it print first, the bottom or the top? Which layer gets printed first? Grace, Brianna? Very good. And Amelia, yeah, exactly. From the bottom to the top. So it's going to print the bottom layer, and then the whole kind of plate that it's on is going to get moved down a little bit, and then the second layer is printed. Absolutely right. Perfect. We talked about how nice it was that 3D printing as an additive manufacturing is much better than subtractive manufacturing when it comes to waste. Because when you're chiseling away at something, you end up with a big pile of scrap. Whereas when you're 3D printing something, you use exactly the amount of material that you need. So much better. And well, additive manufacturing is really good for these detailed, making personalized objects, making them at your own home for quick fixes. For example, if one of your shower rings breaks, you don't have to go out and buy a whole new pack of shower rings. You can just print one more out. But it's not very good for mass production. Printing 20,000 shower rings. It's not very good for that. Not quite yet. So yeah, you do get that 90% reduced material costs, which is really great. And actually someone in the last webinar made the suggestion of using traditional manufacturing scrap to make the 3D printer material, which is a really neat idea. You have even less waste. Or I guess less materials cost, because you're using a recycled product. And speaking of which, we're going to see how 3D printed houses use scraps. We're going to see that in just a moment. This is Chuck Hull. He was the inventor of 3D printing a very long time ago. And as you remember, we needed our computers to be more powerful to create the 3D models and to edit 3D models and to make 3D models to be printed. But Chuck Hull, he's the man. Very cool guy. And we saw a lot of examples. We saw a 3D printed car. We saw this little heart that they made a model of so that they could do surgery that was a little bit easier. A smart prosthetic, a cast, and the 3D houses. And those were used, or the idea is, eventually you'd be able to create houses in case of natural disasters using materials from the area. So using recycled seashells, if they're in a coastal area, using sand, that sort of thing, to make the houses that are just a little bit longer term. Well, let me rephrase. much longer term than a tent, but not quite permanent housing for disaster relief. And we ended our unit by taking a look at this food, this wonderful food. We saw, and this is really for fun, but they have this little pizza where they print out the dough into a shape, and then the sauce into a shape, and they sprinkle some toppings on top, or this biscuit that's printed in the shape of a horse. But of course, these are not, this is for fun. They're hoping in the future to maybe use this in kind of like a fast food without humans kind of scenario. So imagine a chef, quote unquote, that can make you whatever you want. That's actually a 3D printer. Whatever kind of food that you want. Or imagine this, imagine a vending machine that just has pizza dough and pizza sauce in it, and it can make you a fresh pizza whenever you want it, not frozen, fresh dough, fresh sauce. It's been refrigerated and it prints it out for you however you want it. Pretty neat. Alright, and at this point I have a video to show you. Let's see if it will work for us. If not, I've been having some issues with it. I'll just post it on Edmodo later. Let's see. And it is not working, but no worries. No worries. All right. Well, I'll post that on Edmodo. It's pretty neat. This man is named Avi Reichenthal, and he talks about the future of 3D printing, and you see some more examples. This is 3D printed candy, which is really neat, and it has that really cool design on it. Those flowers, so kind of melt in your mouth and have a little bit of a sour flavor to them. So some neat stuff going on in the future. The MakerBot replicator, and so I'll post that video. Sorry about that. MakerBot are the founders of the Maker community. This group of engineers that comes together with very different backgrounds, and they can take on these really cool big projects. So there's lots of different maker communities all across the U.S. There are a few in Charlotte. There are many, many in North Carolina. And yeah, you have programmers, you have engineers, plumbers, builders, people that work on cars, people that work on computers, people that work on electronics. And they all kind of come together, and they can bring their own expertise to projects. So I'm going to look up an example for you real fast from Charlotte. Okay, here it is. It's a Kickstarter campaign. This is a project that a makerspace came together to build. It is a 6-legged hydraulic robot that you can ride, and it looks like a spider. I know spiders have 8 legs, but it has these hydraulic legs and little chairs, and I don't know if it's going to let you see the team here, but they're all in this big space, kind of like a hangar, with lots of different tools, and they all work together. So there's someone that's really good with electronics is going to work on kind of the electrical design, and people that are good with hydraulics are going to work on that part. So some cool stuff. Very cool stuff. All right, that's just an example, but the maker community is very neat, and 3D printing, well, MakerBot was the first group that sold these 3D printers completely constructed to the public, to just like an individual, not a company that was using them. And they helped create this website called Thingiverse, which we'll be checking out. Very cool, open source. That means that they don't copyright their stuff. They let everyone take a look at it. If you notice, this project Hexapod, go back, is also open source, or Stompy, I should say, is also open source. And what that means is that once they build it, this is what it looks like, oh my gosh, they will give out the designs for free. They're not trying to sell it or keep it secret from everyone else. Oh, that's very neat. They will give away their designs for free once they build this. You know what I see? I think they need some help from some ladies. So we're going to check out Thingiverse in a little bit. Let's see here. Thingiverse has a lot of little designs. I say little, I just mean smaller. Not like Stompy the giant rideable walking robot. No. They have little 3D models that you can print, or you can take a copy of and edit it. And again, that's this open source idea that someone created this really cool 3D design, and they're going to let you borrow it if you want to use it and change it and print whatever you want. It's very neat. And so we talked all about this 3D process, and this is how it's going to work for us. You're going to design something in 3D on the computer. You're going to print it in a printer that looks very similar to this, and then you're going to have it in your hand. And some people were asking, and you will be doing this in lab, you'll be 3D printing your own checkers. Alright, so we're going to be using Tinkercad. We're going to be using Tinkercad to create an account. Alright, let me send out this link, and I want you guys to go to Tinkercad, and we're going to go ahead and do this now. And we're actually going to go through the tutorials together as a group once you guys get your own accounts. So I sent out the link in chat, and what I want you all to do is head to tinkercad.com, and we're going to make our own accounts. Alright, so I'm going to log out of mine so you'll see what the starting screen is. So this is the Tinkercad page, and you're going to hit Join Now at the top. You might say something like Sign Up Now or Register for a free account. Any of those should work. So you hit that. The first thing it's going to do is ask for your birthday. So I'll give you a moment to navigate to this screen. You're going to want to give it a birthday after the year 2000. Or before, not after. Oh my goodness gracious. Before the year 2000. You don't want to give it a birthday after the year 2000. So 1990. This is a good one. And I'm not telling you guys to lie about your age. It's because they're checking to see who's making these accounts. They don't want just kids getting on here and making them for free, and kind of they want to monitor the community. But young engineers of today is a way to do that. So make sure your parents are cool with you using Tinkercad, but it's very safe. It's not like a social media or anything like that. It's literally you just go on and make your little 3D models, and you can see other people's 3D models and edit them. But it's not really a place for communication with other people. They just want to monitor and make sure, you know, that their community is being monitored, and everyone that kind of knows who's there. So I'll hit next here. And I would not sign up through Facebook. I would not do that, not for this class. So you can give them an email and a password, and go ahead and create that account. Alright, so mine started me right away in the lesson learning the moves. Can you raise your hand and stop for a moment? Don't continue. Raise your hand once you get to this scene, this lesson learning the moves. And no rush. Okay, Grace, no worries. Alright, Amelia and Brianna, you can try moving this guy around, but don't move to the next lesson until we've kind of gone over some of the basic controls, because I'm actually going to show you a little bit more than what they're showing you on here. We're going to go into greater detail because you guys are going to be building kind of these cool shapes. So you can kind of play around a little bit while we wait. Ooh, kind of just see what's going on. See different things here. All right, great. Okay. Wonderful. Okay, so go ahead. This is your work plane. That's what they call this like blue checkered area. And this, you can imagine this as being the plate that things get 3D printed on. Okay? And over in up here in the left corner, you'll see your view controls, and we're going to learn those in just a moment. You have some cool adjustment keys up here. The really important key I want to show you right now is this undo, because that can be very helpful. If you make a mistake in one of these lessons, the undo can be very, very helpful to fix that. And so go ahead. This little comment area is going to tell you how each kind of lesson works. Go ahead and click next. And it says be as accurate or as inaccurate as you want. But I'm going to show you something, if you guys could look at my screen for a moment. Whenever you go to move something in 3D, and remember that right now what we're doing is CAD, or computer-aided design, you want to be really conscientious about the moves that you make. So when I move this shape into this orange area, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to grab it by the bottom right corner of the door frame and match it up so that I'm highlighting the same bottom right corner of the door frame right there. So go ahead and try that. All right, eyes on my screen again for a moment. So you can see that it's pretty easy to move left and right. Whoops, I moved to the circle, so what I'm going to do, hit undo. There we go. It's pretty easy to move this thing left and right. But how do I move it up? I can't move it up. It just keeps moving it to the right. What I have to do is find the little cone, and see when I hover over that cone, it turns red. That's how you move things off of the ground. It's just like Minecraft. Now we can move in both left and right, forward and backwards, and up and down, because we're in this 3D space. Alright, so I'm going to move this back to its proper position. and then go ahead and hit next. Any questions so far? No? All right. This next lesson, we see a little Elvis. And we're going to learn the view controls, and these are so important, not just for Tinkercad, but for when we get into Google SketchUp, which is another kind of CAD program. So the first thing it's going to tell you to do is these controls over here. So hit the right, the up, the down, the left. Go ahead and try those out, and what you're going to notice is that it's very similar to almost like being on a globe. You guys are on the outskirts of a beach ball, and you could only move around the outskirts of the beach ball. You don't just move straight up when you hit the up arrow, you move up and kind of around in this curved way. That's called orbiting in CAD, to orbit. And you can think about it, I mean, like you're orbiting the globe. The plus will zoom you in, the minus will zoom you out. And by hitting the little house, you can go back to your original position. All right, so hit the little house and go back to the original position. And we're going to learn how to orbit, pan, and zoom using your mouse. So hold down the right click, and you can do control click if you're using a Mac, and you get the same orbit, right? It's like you're in a globe. Same orbit as these keys up here. But let's say I do just want to move up. I don't want to move, oops, I don't want to move up and over. I just want to move straight up the screen. To do that, I'll right click and hold down shift at the same time. As I'm holding down shift, this is called panning. It's like a flat pan. I can move left, right, I can move up, down, but I'm not moving in that arc of orbiting. Again, I'm holding down shift, so go ahead and try that. Hey Hannah, glad you can join us. We are on something called Tinkercad. We got accounts and we are going through the tutorials. And the last thing, if your mouse has a zoom wheel, you can zoom with the zoom wheel. So using orbiting with right click, moving the mouse with the right click down, panning with right click and holding shift down, oops, it will let me, there we go, and zoom, I want you guys to get like a really good close-up of Elvis. Just spectacular. This could take some finesse. And it could take some undoing if you mess up like I just did. And a lot of undoing. Oops. Struggle is real to get to Elvis. Let's see. Hand up, tilt over, hand to the right, tilt over, hand to the right, and look at that beautiful zoom in on Elvis's face. Let me know if you're having trouble getting it to work. Take your time. I'm amusing myself with his eyes. Woo! That was no good. Undo. Maybe I'll make him Tar Heel Blue Elvis. Alright. Raise your hand once you're ready to continue. And take your time. It really is super important to learn these view tools. I know it's not the most fun part, but mastering them is going to make it so much easier when you go to model. So we're just going to hang out a couple minutes while our friend catches up, and go ahead and try, you can try out different colors while you wait. So how I did that is I clicked on Elvis, and I changed the color there. Ooh, now Elvis has pink hair. And then just whenever you're ready to move on, just let me know. Pink-haired Elvis. He's got a hand of gold. All right, and I'm just waiting on that hand to move forward. Great, so we're going to keep going? Wonderful. So then just go ahead and hit next, and we get our beautiful stars, and complete the lesson. All right, in our next lesson, we're going to learn how to punch holes in objects, which is a very satisfying and cool feeling. So the way Tinkercad works, if you guys could eyes on my screen for a moment. You put together a lot of shapes to make another shape. So for example, I could put together these spheres to make a snowman. And it's pretty easy to see. How, this is not a perfect sphere in the slightest, how you could put shapes together to make an object, just like my snowman there, my partially made snowman. But sometimes it's easier to actually take a shape and use it as almost like a cookie cutter to punch a shape out of another object. And you see that here. It would be really hard to try to create this outer shell of a star out of other shapes. That would just be really hard. So what they did is they created a circle, like you see on this side, and they used a star shape to punch out this shape, and we're going to do that here. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, to get to our shape list, you can hit the little block up at the top that says Show Geometric Shapes. It's in your upper right corner, and you'll see a whole bunch of geometric shapes there. And what do you need? You need the brown hexagonal prism, and I'm going to click and drag it into the little orange. And remember, you can move it up with the little cone. And you can actually rotate it with these rotate tools, which is neat. But we're not going to worry about that for right now. We're just going to worry about leaving it where it needs to be. And I can move around to see fit, and it's sometimes hard to see. Notice how mine isn't quite in the orange. There we go. And so I need to actually use my orbit tool to right click to make sure that it's completely in the orange block. Once you've mastered that, go ahead and hit next. And we're going to take this shape, and instead of it being a 3D shape, we're going to click hole. So basically this is saying, act like this whole shape is a hole. And it's almost like it's creating a bite mark. All right, and the inspector pops up when you hold this. You click hole, and then you select your larger object. You hold down Shift and select the whole object, and you hit group. Group looks like little mountains up in the top of your screen, and it groups different shapes together. We could have done it with my snowman. And we have our beautiful wrench. Raise your hand when you're ready to continue. Great, and take your time with this. No rush, no rush. If you finished early, you can play around with the color. Ooh, it's fancy. Just raise your hand when you're ready, or if you're having trouble, you can always message me because you can't figure it out or something's not quite working as you thought it would. So please make sure you raise your hand when you're ready to continue. Okay, all right, we're going to go through it one more time in case, so if someone is having a little trouble, no worries. So let me ungroup it or else it's not going to work. Hold on. Okay, so I'm going to start from the beginning. So what you do is you should have a little orange thing here. And you want to click on the little black cube at the top of your screen that says Show Geometric Shapes. And you should see one called a hexagonal prism. It's brown. And you're going to click and drag it onto the screen into your little orange box, just like that. And when you do that, you should notice that this inspector window automatically pops up. So what you can do is select Hole in the inspector window. And what this is doing, it's acting like it's taking a bite out of whatever solid object it gets placed by or on. All right. And then to group them together, you click one, you hold Shift down on your keyboard, and you click the other. Now both are selected, The other way you could select both would be to click and drag to create this window, this box. It's called the selection box. Both are selected, and you hit the mountains up here, group, which makes them one item. And now it looks like a wrench. Hooray! Good. We got it to work. All right, let's move on. And after this next couple lessons, I'm going to give you guys a little challenge so you can try something else on your own that's a little bit more kind of creative than just learning the steps. So hang with me for a little bit and we'll get something a little bit more fun. Hannah, how are you doing? You want to send me a message? I hope you are able to catch up or know at least a little bit what we're doing. I'm just reaching out to you, so just let me know how you're doing. I'm glad you could make it. I don't want you to feel, completely overwhelmed here. All right, so this lesson, we learned some really important things. Scaling is the same thing as resizing, and then copying and pasting so that we don't go crazy always having to pull new shapes in. We can make a copy based on what we have. So notice here we're starting with a blank work plane, and we're going to get started. What we want to do is we want to find our cylinder. So again, with the little black sphere, and it should be that orange cylinder there, and you want to click and drag it onto the screen, onto that orange outline. All right. And once you have done that, hit next. Next up, we're going to create one next to it that's kind of overlapping it, as you can see there, and I'll zoom in a little bit to show that detail to you. Kind of overlapping. I'm just going to click and drag another one in. Not too difficult at all. All right, and now what we're going to do, we are going to scale our cylinder down, which means to make it shorter. You can also scale it up or make it taller. And to do that, you press and drag the little white dot here. Notice how I hover over that and it tells me the height. And we want to take it from a height of 20 millimeters down to a height of 15 millimeters. Now notice you're not clicking this cone. That would move the entire shape. We're clicking this white dot and making it 15 millimeters high. All right. Now they want you to add another cylinder, but instead of just pulling one from the shape generators, eyes on my screen for a moment, they want you to select the first shape and copy it. And to do that, you either hit Command-C if you're using a Mac, or Control-C if you're using a PC. So I'm going to hit Command-C since I'm using a Mac, and then Command-V, or Control-V to paste that shape. And it made a copy for us. And that goes in the little orange outline. So again, Command-C to copy a shape, or Control-C to copy a shape, depending on whether or not you're using a Mac or a PC. And then Command or Control-V, as in violet, to paste that shape. Let me know if anyone has trouble doing that, but go ahead and try it on your end. Alright, the next step is to rescale this so that it is 10 millimeters high. So again, we use the little white dot and we make the height 10 millimeters high. And that's it. Then you're done. So raise your hand. Woo! It wants to speed me along. Raise your hand once you got that to work. You can revel in your stars. Huh. Hannah, Firefox, it surprises me that Firefox isn't working. Do you have Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, or Safari on that computer? If you do, go ahead and try it in one of those web browsers. And I'll investigate in just a moment. All right. For the remainder of class, I want you all on this same scale, copy, and paste page. I want you to click and drag, select our whole shape here, move it off to the side, and I want you all to design your own snowman or snow lady. So start with the sphere, resize it as need be, I'm struggling to keep these the same size. Let me do this. If you hold down, whoops. If you hold down Shift, it will make sure that your sphere stays a sphere and doesn't become a weird shape. So if you hold down Shift, you can size it equally. But you're going to make your own snowman. So I'm going to hold down Shift and make this snowball a little bit smaller. And I'm going to check my view here. Make sure this is looking good. Hold down Shift, make it smaller. Notice that eyes on my screen for a second. Eyes on my screen, eyes on my screen. It's very important. As I am I'm waiting for the little hazards to show me that you're on my screen. They should pop away from your name. Okay. Notice how this top sphere, I'm trying to make sure that it's centered. it gives me little guides at the bottom. Right now it's telling me that it's 4 millimeters off this way and 2 millimeters off to the right. So I can decrease those. And now I know that it's perfectly stacked when both of those numbers go away. I know it's perfectly stacked. And keep going and try to add some detail. Try to add a hat, maybe try to add some coal. But I want you guys to be creative. Oops. Undo when you need to. Shift to make things smaller. There we go. Oh, you know what? Now that I say that, it may have just been telling me how much I was moving it. Thought it was being cooler than it actually is. Oof. You'll notice that changing your view helps a lot. Just make sure everything is what you expect. Often it is not. Oh! Add buttons and a hat and a carrot and a cone for a carrot. Add a coat with buttons. Can you do that? Yes. Hannah, you need to get it. You need to get a browser that works because you clearly are very creative, and you're enjoying this, which makes me happy. I will try to make a hat, coat with buttons. I think you may be better at it than I am with all of your ideas. But yes, let's see. I'm going to pan up here. It's taken me a while just to add the hat. So Hannah, try to download Google Chrome. If Firefox isn't working for you. Does anyone have the start of a snowman they want to show off? I can share your screen to the group. And remember, once you get one eye, you can control paste to get the other. And that is a hint for myself too. Oh, oh, oh. What is happening? Be really careful as you move because things can happen like that. Or you think you're moving your eye a little bit. Moves it all the way across the screen. There we go. That's perfection. Yeah, try it with Google Chrome. It should definitely work with Google Chrome. Any takers? Anyone want to show off their works of art? I'm trying to work to realize Hannah's for her. see if I can get the little cone. Hannah, you wanted a cone with a triangle. There's my cone here. There we go. Or with a carrot. With a carrot nose. Ooh. You're going to have to resize that guy. So we're going to get thinner. Make it smaller. Whoops. If you make a mistake, don't worry about it. Just hit undo, and in no time at all, back to what you had. Just don't get too stressed out about it. No need to stress. Okay. And I hope this is everything you dreamed and more in the snowman. You're going to have to post a picture of a photo of what your snowman looks like. Notice how you got to be careful. I thought that cone was on the face, but it was not. Because it was just hanging out in 3D space. Still not making it to the face. And there we go, we're on the face. Alright, you can see it's pretty addictive, it's pretty fun. Can you change the colors? Yes. You can click your little thing, and if you have a preference, and then color. Now I got a white snowman. Anyone want to show off their snowman? You can raise your hand. Great, Brianna. All right, I'm gonna flip to your screen, okay? Oh, I love it. I love the legs. That's great. Oh, and Olaf. Oh, that's so perfect. It just takes time. Yeah. Hey, you can make a copy of that first original arm. Oh. Just move on. I get that. Oh, that looks awesome. I know, it's hard. Olaf! How did I not even think about Olaf? Is that his tongue? Oh no. I'm sorry. It's his tooth! Oh yes, Olaf. Oh, good stuff. Thank you, Brianna. That made my night. Okay. I'm going to switch back. Anyone else want to show off their Olaf or Ice Queen or what have you? No takers? Have a wonderful evening. We're going to be learning more of the controls of Tinkercad on Wednesday. But for now, hopefully you see how kind of fun and addicting it can be. Have fun with your snowmen. Remember, you can use print screen or Command-Shift-4 on a Mac to take a screenshot and share with the class what you made. Share off your little snowman or woman. And be creative. Make it Olaf. Have a wonderful night. Brianna, try Control-C by clicking the shape. So either Command-C or Control-C, and then clicking away, and then Command-V or Control-V, and that should make the copy for you. Cool. Have a wonderful night.